Hey guys, this is Shannon with Evolution K9 Academy. We're over here at Panoramic Dog Training in Clarksville. We did a few lessons today, but I'm actually going to bring you a video to help some of my current students and anyone else who's trying to teach their dogs to walk on leash. It seems to be, this leash walking tends to be one of the harder ones to train, and so I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks to help you guys move forward with that. One of the common things that we hear is that we see people buying tools to use, so whether that's a slip leash, a prong collar, a harness, and they pretty much just slap it on the dog and expect that to do the work for you. They go out in public and then they start to realize that your dog's either choking on the leash or it's just not working. And leash walking is one of those things that you do want to put in the work first and do foundation exercises in your home. This really applies for anything you're trying to teach. Downstay, sit stay, self-control, recall, all of that we recommend doing in your home environment first to make sure your dog understands what you're asking for. That way, it's a controlled environment, your dog can pay attention to you, and your dog can learn a new skill without being too distracted. I know everybody wants to be able to just put this tool on or put a leash on and go out and walk on leash, but unless you do this work, it's going to be a struggle. My favorite tool to use for leash walking are actually slip leashes. These ones are actually really easy to use in terms of you just kind of slip it on and slip it off. You don't have to clasp anything or unbuckle anything. And I've been using these for about 11 years now for my dogs. And so the point of a slip leash is to be able to teach your dog to walk nicely on leash, which means we want them to walk with us. And something that people most often get confused is that they want to allow their dog to explore their environment, and they believe that the environment should be rewarding for their dog on a walk versus you. And if you allow the environment to be rewarding for your dog on a walk, your dog will continue to choose the environment over you. And so much like you see AKC show dogs in a show ring, you watch how they pay so close attention to their owners when they're in that ring. They have these fancy leashes that sit super high on their neck, and they prance really well. They keep a loose leash, and they're able to move with the owner. These people did not just get to where they were to be able to compete without a lot of repetitions and a lot of foundation drills inside the house. So I'm going to teach you some of the things that I like to work on first with any dogs that are trying to learn how to view you as more rewarding than the environment. And so I like to start off with the slip leash and teach my dogs how to handle the pressure of the leash. And this is important because most of the time when we already just take our dogs into public and our dogs have been used to pulling this whole time, they get used to feeling pressure, whether that's from a harness, a prong, a slip leash, their regular cloth collar. And their idea of pressure is it doesn't bother them, and they are going to continue to go in that same direction. And if they want to go meet a person or a dog or chase a squirrel, they know they can lead you to that destination, and that's when the pressure gets released. So in essence, they've trained you to follow them. And so what we want to do is recondition that response and build a better habit. But again, we want to start off in the house first or in a place that has very minimal distractions. And the first thing that I'll do is, again, teach my dog how to handle that pressure. I do use treats for this. And so I'm going to use Buffy. She is a 1.5-year-old border collie. I haven't really formally done any leash training with her, but she does understand the way I communicate, and I do speak her language. We've worked on a structure at home, and I follow through with what I say, so she knows that my words actually have meaning and they matter. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to actually show you how I would train this at home to build that skill set. Buffy. Yes. So because it's a slip leash, it's important that I keep this locking tab in place when I put it on. Sit. Yes. Okay, and then I'm just going to slide this around her neck, and I'm going to spin this so that this particular part of the leash sits really high on the top of her head. Then I'm going to lock that into place. Okay. Now again, with collars and leashes and anything, it needs to be snug, but you should be able to put 2 to 3 fingers in there, and that's when you know that it's the right position. So how I'm gonna start off with this, is I'm just gonna mark eye contact while I'm standing here. So if your dog struggles with distractions, especially when they're on leash, then first what I want you to do is just put them on leash in your home and just mark things that you like. So if she decides to look at me, yes. I want to make it so that if she's trying to get into the environment or trying to sniff, that it's not gonna give her as much reinforcement as I would, yes. So this means if she offers a sit for me, if she does anything, I'm gonna reward that. And already she is looking at the ground a lot less, yes. And I don't have to say much. I'm just using a word that I've conditioned to mean I like this behavior repeated. And I'm trying to teach her to keep tabs of me, right? Because leash walking should be a team skill. It shouldn't be follow me. From the dog's point of view, it should be a team skill where you guys are walking together and that your dog views you as a teamwork skill, as your dog views you as important. Which right now she's just offering little behaviors because she knows she gets reinforced. We do a lot of free shaping at home. So what I'm gonna do while I'm at home and I'm marking these things, while I'm talking to somebody, I could still be marking this, yes. Every time she looks back at me or looks at a distraction and looks to me, I'm gonna mark that, okay? So what I wanna teach her first, in the home environment first, is that if I'm moving around and she feels pressure on that leash, I'm gonna call her to me from another direction and reward. And what I wanna teach her is that when she feels pressure, immediately she can relieve that by coming back to me, okay? And so, you know, you wanna start off in the home environment first so that you're not fighting over fixations out in the environment. So if she's pulling, yes, I'm just going to go a different direction and reinforce for coming to me, yes, okay? So when I'm walking too, I wanna make sure that the leash stays loose. I wanna pick a side that she stays on, and I don't wanna give her a whole lot of slack. The way that I teach my students is I want you to put your leash in the air, make a thumbs up, and grab the leash. This way, when you give feedback with your leash or as you're communicating, you keep the leash up towards the top of the neck, because one of the most common things I hear is my leash slides down. But again, the leash is sliding down because you are letting them pull and it's sliding down, gravity's just taking it down. So again, in order to really keep that from happening, this is a tool you have to train with. You cannot just allow them to pull in front of you or else that leash is gonna slide back. Now, if she's working with me on my body language, you notice as I'm moving, she's gonna keep track of where I'm going, she's gonna check in with me. This is a skill, first and foremost, I wanna make sure my dogs have. If I'm stepping into her, she backs away. If I'm coming away from her, she comes towards me. And I wanna build this up so it's nice and fun for her, okay? So not only that, the leash that you use, or any leash, is gonna be used to communicate information. So this is a language. So if I want to play the remember me game, which is essentially reminding my dog that I exist and I'm on the other end of this leash, I'm gonna give little pops, yes. If they get redirected back to me, I might mark that and give them a treat. But this is a language that you have to learn how to use with the leash. Again, it is not something you can just put on and expect it to teach your dog. Okay, so as I'm moving, I want her to check in, but I may just do some figure eights to start in the house. Or if I feel like she's pulling in one direction, I might go the opposite direction and reinforce her coming back to me. And so what this is gonna do is it's gonna allow your dog to, again, start to realize that the walk should be about me and her and not about the environment, okay? And so if I wanna communicate, look at me, I'm gonna use little pops, okay? Again, little pops upward direction. These guys have plenty of thick skin on their necks. They don't feel it nearly as much as you think they do. Clearly she's willing to work for me. I'm still giving this feedback, and I'm going to make sure that regardless of where I'm moving, that she's paying attention to where I'm going. And this has a lot to do with teaching your dogs body pressure as well, or body language. In the real world, or in worlds where dogs are talking to each other, they're using body language to step in, to put pressure, may have movement, and this kind of tells me how well your dog pays attention to you. So if you're stepping into your dog at home on leash, and they're either trying to look around you or they're not even paying attention to you, you need to build this up first. And you want to teach your dog that I can do figure eights, I can go to inside circles. I can do boxes, take a couple steps and turn, because once they get used to going in a straight line, that pulling is constantly reinforced. They're learning pulling is fine, I'm just gonna lead you to where I need to go. And that's really what they start to do, and they'll build a habit from that. 5 minutes a day is all you need of this. Put the leash on in the living room, train this skill, teach them to follow you. This is also a skill building drill that you can do to work on things like recall. So making yourself relevant, making yourself important in your dog's world, and convincing your dog that you are worth listening to over the environment. Sit. Yes. You can also just do little obedience commands while they're on leash, just to kind of build that up as well. Down. Yes. Good girl. Okay. And so I'm really only going to use my marker words to give information based on how I see her behave, because she's making little micro decisions, and it's up to me to reinforce or discourage. And so really with leash walking, again, it's really just a matter of practicing this drill and not letting your dog get ahead of you, making sure your dog is by your side. If they're not doing this drill for you, you need to make sure that their motivation is it's worth it for them. Whatever treat you're using is worth it. So get higher value treats, but you're just going to reinforce and reward for following you. Okay, good girl. That's it. What do you think? Is that good? Okay, you approve? All right. Good girl. Okay, go up. Okay.